From belonging to a lower-class family in Ireland, to stealing a red bottle of lemonade, to committing the most heinous crimes all over the world, to finally ending up as the head of the Irish drug gang, this man has shown us the biggest transitions that could ever take place in history. He has truly proved you don't need to be great to start, but you have to start to be great in the most horrible way. Let's dive into the video to gain insights into his merciless journey of drugs. The criminal godfather was at the center of Ireland's gangland trial of the century. But who is Gerry the Monk Hutch, who is now said to be a wanted man after a bloody feud with a rival Dublin drug cartel? Gerry Hutch was born in 1963, the youngest of an 8-child family in Dublin's inner city. He came from a poor family and claimed nothing was around as a child. His father, Masher Hutch, worked on the waterfronts in Dublin while his mother, Julia, cared for the family. Hutch is a career armed robber who carried out 2 of Dublin's biggest bank raids in the 1990s. He is known as the Monk and has a multi-million-pound property portfolio that stretches from Turkey to Dublin and includes London, Lanzarote, Hungary, and Bulgaria. This nickname comes from his nearly complete abstinence from drugs and alcohol. When Mike Tyson, a former heavyweight boxing champion, visited Dublin, Hutch would chauffeur him in a white Hummer limo. At one point, Hutch dabbled in owning a taxi company. However, an ongoing turf war with rival Irish gangsters that lasted 8 years caused him to return to hiding. As a result of this conflict, 18 people have been killed, including Hutch's nephew, and hundreds of weapons have been seized by police. The Hutch family relocated to Summerhill in 1971. Hutch's criminal career started when he stole a bottle of lemonade in 1971 when he was just 8 years old, earning him a £1 fine, according to journalist Paul Williams, author of The Monk, The Life, and Crimes of Ireland's Most Enigmatic Gang Boss. When did he serve his first sentence in prison? Hutch, who was incarcerated at 15, compared prison to a college for criminals. He was interviewed by RTE Radio when he was 16 years old. He said, "I can't give up robbing. If I see money in a car, I'm taking it. I can't just leave it there. If I see a handbag on a seat, I'll smash the window and be away before anyone knows what's going on. I don't go near people walking down the street. They're not worth robbing." Before being transferred to Mountjoy Prison, Hutch received 11 detention sentences and served time in industrial schools. By the time he was 18, he had amassed another 30 convictions for assault, larceny, car theft, joyriding, and malicious damage, wrote Williams. He served a total of 10 custodial sentences in St. Patrick's Institution for Young Offenders and Mountjoy Prison. When he was a teen, Hutch ran with a gang of tearaways known as the Bugsy Malones after the 1976 Alan Parker movie. Williams explained how Hutch and the other Bugsy Malones developed into prolific car thieves and burglars before moving on to armed robberies. His gang's involvement in 3 significant bank robberies during the 1990s solidified his reputation and brought in the equivalent of £12 million in old currency. The cab, which had just been established, was the Monk's new enemy in the 1990s, even though he avoided prison. After 4 years of court proceedings, he was forced to pay a hefty tax bill of £1.2 million. He purchased the white Hummer stretch limo in 2005 and posed for pictures in it while grinning widely and donning a chauffeur's peaked cap. Even his nickname for it, the Cab, short for Carry Any Body, was a playful jab at the state agency that had taken at least some of his fortunes. Soon after, it appeared as though Hutch and Patricia might be on the path to retirement when they moved to Lanzarote, but a blood feud with the feared Kinahan cocaine cartel, which directly caused the murder of the Regency Hotel, put an end to that. How did he spend his time behind bars? Hutch discussed his first criminal conviction in his 2008 debut on television. In an interview with RTE Primetime from 2008, the Monk said, "As a kid, my first conviction was stealing a red bottle of lemonade. I got a fine. And then, I was involved in other crimes as a kid, stealing and breaking into shops. I had no choice. I had to get into crime to feed myself, never mind dressing yourself." The Dubliner agreed that this made him a convicted criminal, but refuted the other charges against him. Hutch said, "Oh yes, a convicted criminal, I am that, but not a convicted armed robber, not a convicted hitman, not a convicted drug dealer." Of his time as a teenager, Hutch said, "I have a kid now of 15, and I look at the kid and I say, my God, when I was 15, I was in prison. I was in prison with murderers, rapists, bank robbers, everything. I'll agree I did wrong, but I think the severity of being put into Mountjoy Prison at that age was like going to college for criminals. At least 18 men have died in Ireland and Spain due to the tit-for-tat killings between the two organized crime groups, some of whom were innocent bystanders who were accidentally killed. In the Regency raid, boxing promoter Daniel Kinahan, 45, who has been identified by the High Court of Ireland as the head of the feared Kinahan cocaine cartel, shot drug dealer and Kinahan associate David Byrne, 33, 6 times during a crowded weigh-in event. Christy Kinahan, 66, the founder of the major drug trafficking organization, is Daniel's father and is wanted by the DEA and the Gardaí for $5 million. He may be in Zimbabwe. A Hutch gang attempt to kill Daniel Kinahan, who managed to flee, is thought to have been the motive behind the dramatic attack, in which 6 gunmen stormed the building dressed as members of a police SWAT team. The hit originated the year before and sparked a vicious cycle of retaliation killings. Gerry Hutch, the nephew of the monk, was assassinated in September 2015 in Miraflores, close to Malaga, after being held accountable by the Kinahans for an earlier attempt on Daniel Kinahan's life. A few months later, on New Year's Eve, the Kinahans allegedly went after Gerry Hutch at a Lanzarote pub, but he had already left when they allegedly did so. Over a dozen additional men have been killed in tit-for-tat shootings since 2016, some of which involved cases of mistaken identity. A security source claimed that the immediate risk to Hutch's life is legitimate and a massive concern for Garda, suggesting that the bloodshed may not yet be over. In addition, they warn that if an attack happened, there might be a resurgence of bloodshed on Dublin streets. The prosecution's heavy reliance on the testimony of Supergrass witness Jonathan Dowdall, a former Sinn Féin councilman with ties to the IRA, which the judge, Miss Justice Burns, called a ruthless, base, callous criminal, raised questions about the case's handling as well. The judge described Dowdall's 2015 act as a truly appalling, shocking, and brutal assault punctuated by menacing threats, during which the defendant admitted to torturing and terrorizing a man at his home. Dowdall lied about his ties to the IRA and his personal participation in the Regency events. In addition, the judge claimed that he lied blatantly in court regarding how frequently he visited the infamous IRA assassin Piers Macaulay in jail. In 1991, Macaulay killed a Garda detective and plotted a daring breakout from Brixton Prison with a second provo. He was serving time for repeatedly stabbing his ex-wife in front of their kids. The murder charge brought against the monk during the trial, which implied that he was one of the shooters rather than the attack's planner, was another perplexing aspect of the proceedings. The monk claimed that his fortune came entirely from his business endeavors and investments, not from organized crime, and that he had gone straight after being released from prison more than 30 years ago. He said, "I've done a lot of business in property. It was a good time. That's where I made my money. If people say armed robberies, so be it." On April 18, 2023, Paul Williams published an article in the Irish Independent stating that Gerry Hutch's dramatic acquittal will generate more than a few questions regarding the handling of the case. Some will wonder why he wasn't charged with possessing firearms and supervising a criminal organization, which were offenses evident in the secret Garda recordings, including conversations between Hutch and Dowdall. That was irrelevant to Hutch, who evaded the legal system and presented the court with a spotless pair of heels. It remains to be seen if he can avoid his deadly foes with such finesse. What are your thoughts on this? Do let us know in the comments below and subscribe for more. Subscribe.